What a year it has been for horror. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you thought the last few years were like a golden age for horror, 2025 just said, hold my cup. Honestly, because damn, like the releases this year have actually been crazy and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I love horror. If you know me, you know this, so I'm really excited about this. Now, because the year isn't quite over, yeah, Rotten Tomatoes hasn't entirely dropped its official definitive best of 2025 list just yet, but so far, we've come up with like the top 10 or ranked horror movies from Rotten Tomato critics and all. Okay, so without further ado, in the spirit of Halloween, which is coming up real soon, let's dive into the unofficial top 10 horror movies of 2025 so far. Coming up at number 10 is none other than the so called end to a franchise, the big blockbuster Final Destination Bloodlines. Now, who knew that the sixth entry would be one of, I don't even know if I would say best. So a lot of people actually were like, "Oh, it's the best," but to me, I don't think so. Anyways, but I did actually like the fact that they at least, talked about the origin of the curse and why people were dying and etc. And they also tried to sort of relate it to like family relationships and dynamics and all of that. So I'll give them a plus for that, but it wasn't entirely the groundbreaking finale that I was hoping for it to be. Number nine is The Conjuring Last Rites. Now, it's probably at like the bottom because it recently got released in cinemas. So maybe it hasn't really garnered a lot of like reviews and etc. As opposed to these ones that have been streamed or seen a lot earlier in the year. But if you are like an OG horror head, you know like the Conjuring franchise has been one of the most impactful in the or I don't even know how to say impactful, but it's definitely left its mark. And it's quite sad. Me, I'm sad that it's coming to an end, but this one was actually it was good because it wasn't just about like the ghost stories and more, but more about like the emotional toll that all of this has had on them. So less about the ghosts, more about the ghost hunters. In quotes. Next on the list is The Monkey. Now, it's an adaptation of Stephen King's short story from Osgood Perkins, who gave us Long Legs. But this film feels like a cursed object in itself, like shot with a grimy 70s aesthetic. It captures that feeling of like a forgotten childhood terror perfectly. I don't know if I'll say perfectly though, and I'm actually surprised that it made it to top 10. But yeah, it was pretty good. I can't lie. Coming in at number six is the tech slash AI horror companion. So I've been hearing, I don't know if I would say it's like a lot of buzz, but seeing people really talk about this, maybe they just liked how they sort of merged the human experience with that of tech or AI, which to me is kind of scary because even now the world and the era that we're living in, like we're inching closer and closer to like AI. I wouldn't say taking over humanity, but like being a whole lot more human, and it's a bit scary. So seeing that actually shed some light on that, but like with a different plot, impressive, I have to say. So now the top five, according to our critics, and to be honest, I'm kind of pleased with this list. The critics know they know what they're talking about. Number five is none other than the third installment to the trilogy, 28 Years Later. So Danny Boyle and Alex Garland just kind of come back with this film that sort of evolves the franchise by exploring like the long-term psychological and societal consequences of the virus. Yeah. So it's like the kinetic, frantic filmmaking that sort of defined the original. It's still there, but it's tempered with like a haunting quality in a way. Like it's a powerful, thoughtful, and still utterly terrifying return to like a landmark series. Like if you've seen 28 days later or 28 weeks later and seeing 28 years later, you see that they stay true to the essence of like the first two films, but in a more modern way. That's how they like told that story. So number four is actually one that I saw recently together, and I have to say, yeah, I was actually really impressed when I saw that film. I didn't know it would be that good because, and it's not even like it's some crazy ass, but it's I think just the storytelling you get, like the concept in and of itself, first of all, and then the way the story was told, and Dave Franco's performance, like I actually didn't rate him. Sorry, didn't rate him as that, but like I was surprised he actually pulled it off, and I have to say, like, it was great. Maybe I didn't. Am I one of those people now that actually wants a conclusion to films? Like, I feel like I'm getting old. Like, I'm just like, why was this happening? Why is there no explanation to this? Like, come on. But yeah, it's still good. Open ended conclusions are still, they're good. But like with horror, I just want to know why. Like, why is everybody dying? Why is this happening? Why are you eating each other? Why are you like, come on, bro? But anyways, that's side. Top three, guys. Top three. So number three is, which I feel, if this was my list, I would have probably swapped with number two. But number three is Bring Her Back. Hmm. If you've seen this film, you know why it's in the top three category. Like, it's an indie film that was a beautiful horror to watch. Like the story, the performance, especially of like the kids or the young actors, and even I think just the way like the story sort of unfolded, like the way that they revealed things, the pacing of which they did, and the way you could sort of even relate with like the grief. I think I talked about like how people process grief and all of that when I gave my review of My Father's Shadow. By the way, if you haven't seen that, please click the link above this video and it will take you to my review of My Father's Shadow. However, back to what I was saying, this whole thing about how people process grief is actually something that I feel like it hasn't really been explored, especially in, I don't know about medically, but maybe in filmmaking, because there's so much you can do with that. There is so much you can do with that, and the Filippo brothers really, like, they really did. Like, it was beautiful but horrific. Ah, no, 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 no. Like, I have to give it to them. I really do. Like, I watched that film over and over again. Really, like the filmmaking style and the story in itself. Like, it's a horror that you have an emotional attachment to, if I would say. But anyways, number two, guys, is right. Maybe let me save the drum roll for number one. But number two is, did it make as much buzz as number one? Maybe not, but it's definitely the second most talked about horror film of the year, and it's none other than Weapons. So I saw Weapons here, and this is why I said I would probably swap it to Bring Her Back. It was good. I was so excited to actually see it because of all the buzz, the trailer. Like, oh my god, like, how do you actually tell a story like that? First of all, it felt like something that we hadn't really seen before. Like, all the students just disappear. Like, that's the thing. When you get hooked on the trailer and you go and watch the movie, you just have certain expectations, and I feel like those expectations were not met. Not that it was a bad film, it was actually a really good film, told well. But maybe towards the end, like the third act of the film, now started feeling a bit more comical than horrific. And that's one problem I have with horror. I'm sorry, call me rigid whatsoever, but like, I don't think that, when you're trying to make a horror film about like a serious subject, throwing in comedy, especially towards the end, the conclusion that is supposed to be the climax, I don't think that's necessary. And maybe it wasn't comedic, in like intentionally made to be comedic, but it just looks that way. And I'm talking about like the end. I feel like that could have been shot in a different way that would actually still have maintained the theme and the feel of the film. But then that just kind of made it funny in a way. That's the only part that I feel like it flopped. And maybe the conclusion, I just wanted more. Like, why was she doing what she was doing? Maybe I missed it. Maybe I need to watch it over and over again. But it just felt like there wasn't, you know. But it was still good though. And the critics loved it anyway. So number one. Number one. I'm sure you probably guessed it because if I haven't said sinners already, then obviously you know that it's going to be number one. Ryan Coogler really shocked us with this one, to be honest, because obviously I hadn't seen like a horror from him before, and it made people talk. Not just the film in and of itself, but like the effect of it, the impact that it made in Hollywood and globally. Like the film definitely was the most talked about horror film so far, anyways, of 2025. But it's not just about the buzz, like it was actually a really good film. Now I missed the chance to actually make a review of that when I went to see it. I saw it twice. And it's a film that I would watch over and over and over again, which is hard to be honest. Like I would have to really, really like the film in order to do that. But it was just a poetic scare. It was really the way Ryan was like able to tell such a I don't not personal but like an original and relatable story talking about like his roots, being able to shoot a horror film in such a way that it stays true to like the black culture. Obviously I'm not black American, and even the black people of America also said the same thing, that it felt true to them, but it was also still a good scare. It was a cultural scare, I would say, and it was beautifully shot. And I think the way that he also infused music to it was actually remarkable. I don't really like musicals, but when you see a film infusing music in the way that it does, Greatest Showman and etc., and now Sinners, you can't help but actually appreciate it. So that's the list, guys, at least for now. We still have 3 months to go, and there's actually an impressive lineup for the last quarter. Anyways, which of these have you seen? Let me know, and what do you think about them? Do you think that they earned their spot on this list? If not, tell me why in the comments. And are there some that you feel like I left out that should have been on the list? I mean, it's not really my list, but essentially, still let me know because I know that there are some people that are like kicking the air right now and they're like, why didn't you include this? Why didn't you include that? I'm sorry, not everything makes the cut, but either way, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to also like, subscribe, and share this video as well if you're a horror fan, or even if you're not a horror fan, because you just like my channel or you like my fine face. Please help a sister, because we must make this bread. But either way, I'm really looking forward to see what 2026 holds. And I really hope that things just get better, because honestly, I felt like there was such a huge decline in the horror category. The way they were being made, I was like, is this a joke? Like, are we playing here? This is not the horror that I grew up watching, man. But I'm glad that it's like picking up, and it's picking up in not the same way as before, but like very unconventionally beautiful ways. So yeah, I'm happy. That being said, add these movies to your watch list if you haven't seen them already. Grab your friends and grab your popcorn. Till next time, guys.